Hey guys, this is Inversify here, and we are back with Season 2 of the Hive. I know it's been a while since I've recorded any videos, and, it's just, I really haven't had too much time to record in the day, which is when I usually record. I don't usually like recording at night, just because I don't want to wake up anybody. But it's looking like that's really going to be the only time I'm going to be able to record, and I still do want to record. So this is what's going to have to come to, which is fine. Um, I mean, recording at night isn't the biggest deal in the world. um, I mean, I prefer to record in the day, but um, just circumstances have happened to where I haven't been able to. So, anyways, let's get on with the analysis. I had the third pick overall in the draft, and I think the mons for me that went were Mew and Garchomp. Both definitely very good, but I think Kieran Black, under the ban list that we are under, is the best Pokemon in in this league that's allowed. Obviously, no like Magearna or anything, because I would have jumped all over that if that fell to me. But yeah. So really, this thing basically scares every single Pokemon that there is. I think the best switch-ins to it are probably like bulky steels, maybe bulky waters that don't really care about fusion bolt that much, such as like an Alomomola. But yeah, this thing is definitely very scary with that 170 attack stat, along with a 120 special attack stat, and its bulk is really nothing to to mock or anything. It's got very solid bulk. You can definitely run this thing defensively, and it really can. I think it's definitely an underrated defensive asset. Um, just because the offenses are so scary that people are only going to prep for it like offensively most of the time. But this thing could definitely take some hits. It does get reliable recovery with Roost, so that's definitely a good move. Ups the viability of the set a lot. And its coverage isn't too crazy, but it is what it is. It's got enough coverage to live, and do a lot of damage to basically anything that it needs to. And yeah, I think it's a pretty self-explanatory pick. Um, Kieran Black falls to you, and you pick it. That's basically what my process was. And my next Pokemon I decided to pick up, definitely a very strong core with the Kieran Black, in that it can really give the beat down to some of these steel types that Kieran Black does not like, and that will be Mega Heracross. Um, yeah, this thing is definitely a huge threat. Also got a huge attack stat, so that's a definitely it's already through 2 months an average attack stat of what, like 177 or something. It's pretty crazy, and it has respectable bulk itself with 80, 115, 105. Not gonna eat flying type hits too well, but it is what it is. And of course, that skill link ability, allowing you to get some pretty high power moves, such as Pin Missile, which is will always, since it'll always hit 5 times. It's I think it's 25 power every hit. If I Yeah, and so that's effectively 125 base power, and then of course close combat is another 120 base power. So along with its high attack, it's got great stabs to abuse that. as well as decent coverage options. The main problem is it doesn't have a real good way to hit fairy types, and Kieran Black isn't the most fond of fairy types. It does have some good steel coverage on both sides with Iron Head and Flash Cannon, but really a really nice thing this new gen is Z Freeze Shock, which I don't actually know the power of, but I think it's like 200. So and it's a physical ice type move off that 170 um, base attack. There's really not too many fairies that are gonna love that to eat that kind of hit. Z Freeze Shock really kind of just obliterates anything that it comes across, unless it's like a Walrein, which has like an 8 times resistance to ice. But nobody drafted Walrein, so I think we're good. But yeah, Mega Heracross, this thing was actually tier 2, which I definitely believe it should be a tier 1 Mega, just because of the sheer power of it, and the nice bulk that it has. You know, I mean, a lot of Mons do get flying type coverage, but you know, a lot of times it's something like Aerial Ace, where 60 base power. It's like, yes, it is 4 times super effective, but that's the same as like a Focus Blast that's 2 times super effective in terms of power. And 8115 bulk, of course, is not bad by any means. It could definitely eat some weaker aerial aces, and although not super comfortably, of course. 4 times weaknesses are pain, but I think Mega Heracross has just enough bulk, and along with the kind of bad selection of flying moves that there are in the game, that we can make it work. So for my third pick, I went with another Mon that was tier 2 that I believe should be tier 1, personally, in Starmie, which is probably the best offensive rapid spinner in the game. Well, in the not in like Ubers or anything, but you could make a case for Excadrill, but I think Starmie's better. It has a great speed. That 115 speed tier definitely going to be very nice, especially since the biggest flaws of my first 2 picks are definitely the speed, as both Kieran Black and Mega Heracross have pretty underwhelming speed. So Starmie gives me that bit of immediate speed that I'd be looking for with that kind of core, as well as clearing rocks away for the Mega or the Kieran Black, which obviously does not want to switch into Stealth Rock, as it'll definitely cut into its bulk quite a bit. So Starmie doesn't really have the greatest defenses, but it's got a pretty good move pool. Definitely some fun some fun options such as Reflect type. Um, I don't know. Reflect type can definitely prey on maybe some Pursuit Trappers that maybe like a Bisharp, if it's not carrying Brick Break. Um, it won't really be able to hit its own typing super well. And if he's trying to Pursuit Trap me, then I can definitely take 2 pursuits that are resisted and get out fairly easily. But anyways, it does have reliable recovery and recover, although obviously it's not super bulky. And then has a couple good abilities in Analytic, which is I think it's a lot better than Natural Cure. It really can just punish switch-ins to this thing hard. Although, the way I'm probably most likely going to be using Starmie, as it is actually my only hazard removal, it's my only, like, good hazard removal, is more as a pseudo-defensive, like, just a fast spinner, can dish out some hits, but, Starmie won't be really the Mon that I need to be dealing the damage, as, it's more there for the nice utility that it has. and also the nice natural speed, which the rest of the team somewhat lacks. And for my fourth mon, went for another what I would call a bargain, third pick in a row. Uh, with a tier 4 Reggie Steele. Um, you know, I mean, maybe I just am overvaluing some mons, but I definitely think Kieran Black should, or Mega Heracross should be tier 1, Starmie should be tier 1, and Reggie Steele should be tier 3. And I mean, maybe other people don't like Reggie Steele as much, but I think it's a good mon. It's just a good blanket check in general. It doesn't hit extremely hard, but it's got decent moves to fuel it. Being like Earthquake, Superpower is fine. Thunderbolt if you want to go for a special, and Flash Cannon and Iron Head. So decent stabs on both sides, but mainly this is going to be just like a bulky pivot. Well, a pivot that doesn't actually pivot, but a bulky switch in that sets up rocks, maybe thunder waves, some stuff, providing some speed control, just generally being annoying. And, if I want to, I could go for as a win con with a curse set, just to kind of, give it a little bit more versatility than just being a bulky rocker every week. And for the fifth mon, we picked up the Galvantula because, the biggest problem with the Kieran Black Mega Heracross core is speed. And, what could be better than sticky webs with that core? That is, I'm sure anyone that has basically any remote knowledge knows that Kieran Black and Mega Heracross under sticky webs is not good for other teams and other coaches trying to deal with it. So yeah, definitely Galvantula, best sticky webber in the game. And gives me another pivot too if I need to with a volt switch. Doesn't do too much other than set webs. It actually is a decent just attacker by itself. Given that compound eyes, you can run thunder, and it's a decent user with life orb. It is a fast disable user, which I actually really like for the meme sets with the sub disable Galvantula. Definitely a fun set to run on any kind of fast mon that gets them. Just to kind of mess with my opponent. I'm not really sure if I'll bring that in too serious of a game, but it's always an option. And definitely in it for the laughs if I pull that one off. But anyways, doesn't really have great coverage, but Bug Electric Stab isn't the worst thing ever. And it sets up webs, it pivots, hits decently hard, not super hard, but it's there for the webs. And next we have something that does hit hard and also benefits a lot from sticky webs in Darmanitan. And this thing, whew, if there were any steel types that Mega Heracross wasn't super good at dealing with, I think Darmanitan has it covered. This thing is a powerhouse with 140 attack and sheer force flare blitz, and that is very tough to switch into, especially if you're running choice band. And it's a good pivot too with U-turn. It's got edge quake coverage, really all you need. You can also run that sub belly drum set, with a Salic Berry, which you know I think is a fun set to run, even though it's not super good. You know, maybe a team that's lacking a bit of priority, not gonna have fun with that set. I don't know. I think that's more of a another. I can put that one with the sub disable Galvantula if I ever feel like I want to meme. But yeah, that's I mean it this mon it's pretty one dimensional unless you count uh, unless you count sub belly drum uh, as another dimension to it, which I don't. It's pretty one dimensional. It's gonna run basically the same moves every week, and either a choice band or a choice scarf. Um, and but yeah, it's just so good at what it does. Gives me a nice fire type, and yeah, even even though there can be there are decent switch-ins to it, such as like bulky waters. The rest of my team doesn't really mind bulky waters. Galvantula can deal with him with like a thunder. Um, Mega Heracross can set up a substitute on some of the weaker ones, which it'll really be a pain train there with the sub, and like it gets Bolt Seed. Kieran Black has Fusion Bolt, so bulky waters aren't too big of a problem for my team. And yeah, it's really nice for Darmanitan, which of course can just U-turn out if I ever need to. If I'm, predicting a bulky water to come in. So that completes the first kind of half of the team. And we'll go right into the second half. Picked up the Grand Bull here. Just because I definitely wanted a fairy type, and had to be kind of it didn't have to be a lower tier, but I haven't really used Grand Bull ever. Figured I'd try it out. I mean, I guess you could say it's sticky web support. It's kind of, because 120 attack and 45 speed, but even with sticky webs up, this thing isn't gonna outspeed much. But that's not really what I need it to do. It's more here for the intimidate. Ooh, excuse me. Just being bulky, switch in, kind of lacks recovery, which is kind of a theme with my bulky core so far of Registeel and Granbull, and one to be added later. But I have such an offensive team that it's not like my games are gonna last a super long time. I'm really just looking for this to maybe switch in a couple times as I need it, and just switching a couple times throughout the match, and then it won't really need anything. Although I did put a Z crystal on it if I want to run Z heal bell and fully restore it, and make it maybe even a better knockoff absorber than it already is. But anyways, moving on to the next mon, we're definitely severely lacking in special power right now, so I decided to pick up the Meloetta. It was I think it was reasonably priced in tier 3B, but I don't know. I think it was definitely one of the better mons in tier 3 overall. I think it's pretty underrated in my opinion. It's just got great coverage, and obviously the ability to run a Relic Song set and get like blazing fast speed. I think it hits like 126 speed after a Relic Song if I want to go like super physical. But yeah, it's just a good general like bulkier special attacker. 100 128 special bulk is definitely nothing to laugh at, and special bulk is definitely what I need at this point, especially after my next pick. Because I have the Granbull, I'm gonna have the Rhydon coming up, so I'm gonna spoil my next pick, which are definitely both physical walls. Registeel can be both, but Meloetta, it's it's still a good it's still good support. Adds yet another Thunder Waver. I forgot to mention Granbull's also a good Thunder Waver. This thing isn't as good, but it's got Thunder Wave, it's got U-turn, so it'll fit this team well enough. And I believe I just stuck Z moves on this thing because like the Z moves, they're kind of like restricted with like points or something, so I couldn't put it on another one of my offensive mons, such as Feraligatr or Kartana, which I'm going to spoil like the entire rest of my draft. So I couldn't put it on one of those mons because of like point restrictions. So maybe I should have. I was considering putting it on Kartana instead of Granbull and Meloetta, but I think Meloetta and Granbull can use it better, especially if I'm running that Relic song. Is people, I find they generally don't prepare too much for the Relic song sets anyway, and even if they do prepare, one check can be taken back by a Z move, so definitely going to be a pretty scary threat if that'll work. My next mon, I wanted another rocker as well as a good fire switch in because my team was somewhat fire weak. I think my only resist up to this point was Starmie, and obviously that's not super bulky. And I had a couple weak. Actually, Darmanitan is also resist, but it's also Darmanitan, and it's gonna get worn down very quickly. But yeah, just wanted a good bulky rocker, good good fire resist, and Rhydon really fit that bill pretty well. Obviously, it's a bit susceptible to hidden power, given its poor special defense and its multiple 4 times weaknesses. But my team is set up so that, the hidden powers, my opponents are really going to have to choose which kind of hidden power they want, as they can't really hit everything that they want generally with just one hidden power. So yeah, this thing is definitely fits the bill of hitting very hard. Actually, I think the average attack stat of this team is like 121, which is like, that's insane. 121 is the average attack stat. It's like this thing is kind of pulling up the slack with 70. There's 77 on Meloetta. I think Registeel's like 70. Starmie and Galvantula don't have big ones, but I have like the 185 with Mega Heracross, the 181 with Kartana. We've got the 170 of Kyurem Black. We've got the 140 of Darmanitan. All these kind of more defensive mons that still have great attack stats, like 130 Rhydon, 120 Granbull. So yeah, definitely anticipating a lot of physically defensive spreads. So if you think I'm going to run Psyshock, I'm probably not going to run Psyshock on either Meloetta or Starmie. So I guess I get in that a little bit higher base power move, because Psychic has 10 more base power and 15 if you factor in stab. But every little bit of damage counts. So yeah, Rhydon, it is a Gen 1 Pokemon, and therefore it's gonna have some pretty insane coverage. Like I don't know why it gets so many moves like Surf. How does this thing surf? Like, I don't understand it. But it's actually kind of an underrated offensive threat as well with the Rock Polish. It's also got the Sword Stance, so I can run Double Dance if I want, or just Rock Polish, since base 130 attack really isn't super really isn't base 130 attack isn't that bad, even uninvested. And it can definitely clean up some weaker teams if I can get a rock polish off, which, with its pretty insane physical bulk, definitely can, um, you know, live some stuff. 105, 120 is already good on a Mon, and, if you just factor in a Violate on there, it's pretty incredible. Um, but yeah, anyways, moving on to the next Mon, we've got the Feraligatr. Um, Gives me a good setup sweeper. If I want to go for a game, I've got a lot of wall breakers on my team at this point, but nothing's really a setup sweeper. So Feraligatr gives me a good setup sweeper. It's got a decent natural bulk. Nothing like spectacular, but nothing to scoff at. It's definitely usable, as well as the 105 attack, which a little bit lackluster. I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna lie, on this team, 105 attack, not too great. It's gonna rank like in the bottom 5 of my team, the bottom half of my team, probably. But it has that good way to boost it with the Dragon Dance. I believe it also gets Sword Stance. Yeah, it does. So if I want to use it under webs as a Sword Stancer, that's not the worst thing ever. Gives me my only priority on the team with Aqua Jet, and the lower attack is kind of mitigated by Sheer Force, which will definitely give me a nice boost, like a 1.3 time, basically a free life orb. In addition, if I hold a life orb, it's like basically 1.7 times the power and no drawback, and I can switch moves. So Sheer Force life orb. It's a tried and a true tactic, and it's definitely good. But yeah, this thing, it's not too versatile, but it does what it does, and does it pretty well. And I think it'll definitely work fairly well with the team in just sweeping. And this goes to our other kind of cleaner. Wouldn't really call this one a setup sweeper, because even though it gets Sword Stance, you can see that special bulk, and yeah, it's not so good. 50-31 or 59-31. Most hidden power fires are gonna take this thing out, but that is where the point of my point of hidden powers comes back up, because if they're running hidden power fire, they're not running hidden power flying to hit Mega Heracross. They're not running hidden power grass or water to hit Rhydon. So yeah, they're gonna have to sacrifice. It also gives me a defogger. Actually, I should say something about this. From up to this point, I had gotten my entire plan, but Superior was the mon that I had originally wanted here as a secondary ground switch, because right now my only ground resist is Mega Heracross, but Superior was snatched, and the only good ground resist that wasn't also weak to rock, because I had somewhat of a rock resist, rock weakness, was Buzzwole. So I think Buzzwole definitely would have been a very serviceable Pokemon to have in this final slot. I don't think it would be the worst thing ever, but I think it's something about the meme of having Buzzwole and Mega Heracross on the same draft, which of course makes hidden power flying more prevalent. I don't know. I think Kartana was better, because it also gives me that defogger, which won't have to bring Starmie every single week if I really want to squeeze defog on this thing. Not a great defogger, and generally just using it will lose my momentum that I'm sure to have with this draft. So but if I really really need it, it can work. And oh, so this thing is also a pretty decent cleaner. It's not great because generally you want to run what is it? Choice Scarf on this thing to clean, but both of its stabs are pretty bad offensively. Grass and Steel definitely not renowned for their for their great um, offensive presence, I would say. But it's workable, and Scarf isn't the only viable set. It's still decent with Life Orb, especially under sticky webs, which could potentially allow me to outspeed basically everything that I need to, minus some like super fast Scarfers or something like a Tornadus that's not going to be touching the ground and naturally faster than me, or just scarfed flying mons in general. But scarfed flying mons generally not the best into a ride on. Um, you know, Ride on definitely likes can eat up some hits really with the bulk that it has. But anyways, my team might have a bit of a trouble switching into ground types, but if you really look at my ground weaknesses, we've got Rhydon, which it's almost not even a ground weakness because Earth Power is pretty rare move. I would say it's not super common coverage that most mons have. There's really only a handful that have them, and I have one of the better users of them in Kieran Black. Um, and this thing, as mentioned, it really doesn't care about earthquakes. Earthquake basically easily the most common ground move you're gonna see, and yeah, Rhydon really does not care at all. The only problem is Rhydon doesn't really have that recovery, so it's not gonna be like able to consistently switch into those ground moves like Earthquake, but it can definitely take some, and take some pretty comfortably. We've got the Registeel, which is definitely a ground weakness. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, you're not gonna have a draft that's like completely free of ground weak. And then we have the Darmanitan, which is, I mean, it's ground weak, but there's not a lot of ground types that are like super comfortable with eating a hit from Darmanitan, or Darmanitan can also just U-turn out if I need to. Also have the option of running something like an air balloon on my Registeel if ground types are really a super big problem. But yeah, I think definitely the biggest problems to my team will be those special ground types, which we actually are playing week one, so that's fun. We're playing a Nidoking week one, which definitely it'll be hard for my team to switch in. But if you're talking about ground types, it is an offensive team for a reason, and ground types really aren't even the best bring against my team, because I have the Feraligatr, got the Aqua Jet priority, we got Kartana, Leaf Blade. Going back here, we've got Kieran Black and like Ice Beam, or just general ice moves. Like we've got Starmie, which water moves, Scald. Ground types aren't gonna love. So I think definitely my draft has ways to play around ground types. And given that it's gonna be a fairly offensive draft, I think I think this team is really the epitome of bulky offense. You know, it's got a bunch of bulk. You know, got some good wall breakers, some more bulkier mons, a decent amount of pivoting, and finally a few setup sweepers for near the end of the game when I want to go for game. You know, just I think in general I'm very happy with this team. I think I can have a lot of success with it. Um, it'll definitely be better than last year's team. So hopefully we don't start 1-4 again. That was awful. Um, really didn't put me in a good spot. Had to play a really good player in first round of playoffs, and we got knocked out. So hopefully this season ends better. And yeah, I'll see you guys week 1.